do you consider Axie Infinity a company?
It's not a company. It depends how decentralized that is, right? So even in cryptocurrency, you have different levels of decentralization, and the most decentralized um, are things like Bitcoin. Even Ethereum's pretty
Mm-hmm.
decentralized, but sometimes you have centralization to an extent, and so it's always on different levels. It might be centralization in the way that the network's secured. It might be centralization in the way that products are brought out on the network. It might be someone's got like an admin key that they can freeze transactions if there's a hack, you know, and that is centralized to different levels. So um, I'm not sure if you really call them a company. We obviously call a lot of projects in crypto decentralized autonomous organizations or DAOs,
DAOs,
and
okay.
that's the set. Yeah, DAO for DAO. So essentially, these are like companies, but they have no centralized figure that is calling the shots, and it comes down to voting for how it proceeds and so on.
Right. Okay. Good. DAOs. I know what to say because I'm always like companies, and I'm like, no, it's not really a company though. But coming from the stock world into the crypto world, it's kind of the same thing. I'm looking at circulating
Yeah,
supply, and I'm like, well, circulating supply is the same thing as float in the stock market. It's just two different words. So DAO, is kind of they're not really companies, but DAO is that word that I need to add to my vocabulary for crypto. I'm learning. That's
definitely.
that's why
Yeah.
I've got you on because I got some more learning to do.
Uh, hopefully, I can give you some good
Yeah,
information.
that's good there. I won't sound as stupid now when I'm talking about these crypto projects because I try to use projects, but I always slip up and say companies because I'm used to it.
I don't think they're all DAOs, so you might just want to check the differences, maybe exactly what the difference is, because
So
I don't really say DAOs that much. I just call them projects,
projects, okay.
because yeah, but there's certain ones that are they claim themselves to be DAOs. Do you know Maker, the
Yeah, yeah,
project Maker
I'm
DAO?
familiar with Maker. Yeah,
Yes, it's the name is Maker DAO, so it is literally a decentralized autonomous organization.
I've
So
seen the DAO
yeah.
term, but I didn't know what it actually meant. So
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's one thing we have in crypto. We don't do enough to make it obvious what something means, and I think that's important for people coming into the space. We
yeah,
probably need to do a better job on
yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, the stock market's the same. It's all a different language. But like from my experience from trading stocks to trading cryptos, it literally is no difference in actual price action and charting and all that. The only thing that's
Yeah.
really different is just what things are called, like the DAOs or projects versus the company or the
Mm,
tokens versus a stock. Like
yeah,
in base simple forms, they're all pretty much the same premise, just with little different nuances, really.
I agree. Yeah, there's some definite similarities.
Yeah, I will say after doing the research I've done, I don't think NFT space is the best place to invest right now. I think the tokens for these company or DAOs or projects, whatever, uh, I think that's where the money's to be made at right now, or at least a little more safely, because you don't have
Yeah,
the gas fees unless you're using Uniswap or SushiSwap or any of
of
those.
course. Yeah.
But regular apps like Coinbase, Binance, all of those, I think that's probably the best way in this wild, wild west of a digital landscape that we have to invest in it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, especially for someone new coming into the space, using Binance and Coinbase even more so is a much better option than trying to do a trade on Uniswap, because Uniswap's got some nuances. It's got some specific things you need to understand, and you could go wrong and pay for transactions, that you didn't mean to do, and you don't get, whatever you were trying to get from that transaction.
Mm.
So you need to understand how it works before you do it. So a great example is there's a lot of people right now coming into the NFT space, like maybe they're artists in the normal world, so to speak. And then they come into the crypto space. They've watched some of my videos about making an NFT on this platform called Rareable,
Mm-hmm.
and they have issues. They have issues with trying to create this NFT. They lose money because they pay a transaction fee, but because they've done it incorrectly, the transaction doesn't go through. And
Mm-hmm.
I see it all the time on my Rarible video. I see it where people have an issue with trying to create this token, and some people have felt like they've been scammed because that transactions failed, but they don't realize it's not Rarible that's made the transaction
Right.
fail. It's Ethereum. It's the Ethereum transaction that's gone wrong because they've not that they've done something wrong, but they haven't understood what they needed to do in the right way, and it's gone wrong. Or sometimes it's just Rarible's user interface that messes up, and it does cost them money because the transaction fails. So I think really, like you say, it's easier and better to invest in the tokens, like you say, of the platform. So you
Hmm.
can buy Rarible's governance token called Rari,
Okay.
RARI, and that would essentially give you like an equity almost. You get a stake in the Rarible platform,
Yeah.
and so you collect some of the fees. If you stake that Rari token, that Rarible generates from the tokens being created and sold, and so that is much easier. It's like I think a way that maybe people in a normal background can understand it. Probably you get this quite a lot as well. Is like you have gold and silver, and a lot of people made money just providing like the tools to mine that gold and
Yeah.
silver rather than trying to actually go out and mine it. Maybe they'll actually like provide the equipment or so on, and that's kind of like what the tokens are. They're like the picks and shovels rather than the actual non-fungible tokens, the NFTs.
Yeah. Because I did better. I thought Decentraland was going to take off and got in at around 30 cents. And I did better with that than trying to go in and buy a property in Decentraland because you do have to
Mm.
have a certain wallet. From what I've seen, like every app requires a different wallet almost. Like MetaMask seems to be the most prevalent one, but not all of
Yeah.
them accept MetaMask. And then some of them don't accept the Ledger, and some of
Yes.
them don't
Yeah.
accept Coinbase. So it's like you got to have all of these apps. And I just started like it started getting too much for me because I do stock trading too as well. So I was finally like, you know what? I'm gonna keep researching all this other stuff, but all I'm gonna invest in is tokens. I'm just gonna keep my couple of accounts that I have, my Coinbase, my Voyager, and just run with that because I think that anything else is too risky right now, as young as this market is.
Especially if you don't know, anything about these non-fungible tokens. So you're spot on with the way you've done it, and I think in a way it's a proxy for buying the actual land. If you're buying a Decentraland token, the Mana token,
Mm-hmm.
you're essentially betting on the success of Decentraland, and
Exactly.
the success of Decentraland is dependent on how profitable it is to and how much demand there is for the land within the game and so on. So it's definitely an easier way to invest. I wouldn't say it's the same, but it's almost like when you kind of use like a fund to get into, to get sort of exposure to the stock
Mm-hmm.
markets. You don't buy the actual stocks. You might just get a fund and they'll deal with it all. It's almost like that. It's completely different, like how it works, but you get the same level of exposure to the NFTs without owning the NFTs themselves.
While we're talking about altcoins, I watched a video you just put out about the altcoin index, which is very nice. I have that bookmarked now on my bookmarks. You said in that video, you think that we may have more of a bull run left in this altcoin market, but we're almost to the top.
Yes, yeah, this was the altcoin season index, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
So yes, yeah. So this is actually just one I've looked into pretty much the day before I did the video. So I knew about it already, but I kind of looked into it on that day, and it really just struck me that this index is pretty good at sort of explaining where we are in the altcoin cycle. So for like people who don't really know what the altcoin cycle is, so what you have is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will go on its market cycles. If you're familiar with investing, you already know how it works. But you have like these bull markets and bear markets. But what you have with the altcoin cycles is basically you have Bitcoin cycles where Bitcoin does better than the rest of the cryptocurrency market, and then you have altcoin cycles where altcoins do better than the rest of the market. So, like you can see on the screen there, we're actually getting to a point on this indicator where we're in what's called an altcoin season, where altcoins have been performing better than Bitcoin. The thing with this index here, this graph, is that actually we get to the end of the altcoin season, when we get above that line that you see at the top, that 75 level.
Yeah. Yeah, I went back on a 2 year just now, and you can see it pops above. Now back, let's see, what was this? 2019, it didn't pop above. It hit this area that it's hitting now and actually came back down
Yeah,
pretty hard, but
exactly.
the
Yeah.
last couple of 2020 August and then 2019 December, where it did
So
pop over that 75 area, you could be right. There could be another leg up left in this.
with the data you just pulled up there, all of the peaks come on that chart we just saw at the peak of the altcoin cycles, and the ones that get above 75 are the stronger altcoin moves. Now we're in a bull market for Bitcoin, so you'd expect altcoins to go on a bigger run than what we've seen in 2019 and 2018, because we weren't in the same level of bull market then.
Right.
Bitcoin wasn't doing as well, altcoins weren't doing as well. So that's why I think there's more to go. But at the same time, like you pointed out, we only hit 75 and came down a couple of times. So there's a risk we can get the same. The way I look at it is that scale on that chart is kind of like when you're up towards 75, it's more likely that they're going to sell off than they're going to keep going up. When we're at 75, it's much more likely that a top is happening or we're close. It's about probabilities, right?
Yeah.
But when we're below 25, there's much more probability that altcoins are going to go up soon. And when we're at 50, it could go either way. That's kind of the way you want to look at it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on this full chart right now. Like under 25 seems like a buy. That's like the best.
Every time.
It seems like a no-brainer buy on this chart. I mean, the last 3
But
years.
the chart has it backwards. It calls it a Bitcoin season when it's actually time to get into altcoins because it lags. It's a lagging indicator. And it says it's altcoin season when it's actually more likely better being in Bitcoin or altcoins are going to correct.
Yeah.
So it feels like we should get a correction soon. The only thing is, when you look at the start of that chart you've got on the screen back in 2017, we went much higher. That was when we had the crazy altcoin moves in the last Bitcoin cycle.
Yeah.
And it went up to 100 and it stayed there for a while. That's what we should get this time if history is going to repeat.
Yeah.
But if we don't, then we're going to peak soon. So it's all about playing the odds. And I would rather stop buying altcoins now and let what I've got ride than start and then continue adding to altcoins while we're at 75. That's just the way I personally look at it.
Yeah. I pretty much agree with that because I think I got in. Let's see, where was it? I got in 2020. So actually, this is right where I got in. I didn't even know about this index when I started buying altcoins, but I got in right at the bottom,
time.
So that was perfect. That just happened to work out. But I was doing it off of chart patterns like that. Like I do less research on the actual projects on a lot of these trades and just mainly do technical analysis, and it seems to work out pretty good. But looking at this chart, you may be right about going up higher because what I'm seeing after we had this big correction back here, we've got a low here, and then we've got a higher low, and then another higher low, and then we've got a higher high, higher high, higher high.
Actually, that's a good point.
So we're in this. Can I draw lines on this? No, I can't draw lines.
Unfortunately not. No, I had to copy the image and then draw on it from there.
Yeah, so
that's the only downside to it. But,
if that continues with these higher lows and higher highs, we should see a higher high out of this one before we maybe get another correction.
Absolutely.
That would kind of be odd for it to come back down now.
Yeah, big premature for definitely. Yeah. But it doesn't mean it wouldn't do that. It doesn't mean it can't happen.
Of course.
Yeah.
The markets, anything's possible in the markets. But yeah, that's a great tool.
Exactly.
That's a great tool to use to see when to buy and sell your crypto positions. I don't like the pullback, though, so far that we've had. It's been a pretty steep pullback, in my opinion, especially on Bitcoin, pulling back all the way down to 50,000.
It's been quite rough. We didn't really get that much higher than the last peak, and we've seen a pullback quite quickly. That's probably one of the things that I'm not so happy with on the move. But I'm not too worried. Bitcoin's a long-term position, but for the altcoins that we have, me and you both, it's not nice to see the pullback in the whole market. It can be a bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like debating whether I should start taking more profits now in case it does drop. Like I said, most of my positions I've took out the original investment and took out some profits along the way on the runs, but
Yeah, protecting your capital there.
yeah, but I also don't want to lose all the profit that I'm up in if they come back down. I mean, I'll have made some decent profit, but right now, if we start dropping any lower than we're at, then it's going to start affecting the account a little bit. I ain't gonna like that, but
Yeah, and that's the thing. You don't want to see it coming down fast, and then you sell at the bottom because you see your money leaving. You want to be selling higher, like we could be now if it does continue going down.
yeah, that's
So
what I'm looking for. I was just off of single crypto charts that I've been looking at. A lot of them look like they're not done running yet, even with this pullback, because a lot of them are on trend lines.
the weekly chart I was looking at, but the daily's fine as well. And if you just go back to August 20, that is the last peak before we saw a correction, really, of any substantial size. So that's where I'd expect, the next line of support to be at,
Yeah,
the next significant line.
yeah, for sure. I The reason I like it at a dollar is because a lot of times in the stock market, when a penny stock has never been over a dollar before and it finally gets over a dollar, usually a dollar holds as really strong support. Something about psychology with traders where
Yeah,
going from 98 cents into a dollar. Well, now that stock is over a dollar, so it's in a new world of value that it's never been at. So I kind of was
absolutely.
thinking the same thing would happen with Algorand, and people be like, oh, a dollar. They shouldn't be back below a dollar because it was all the way up almost to $2.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. Yeah, it was a very parabolic move, and I think you're right. It's like the big even levels, a dollar. When people look at where to sell or where to buy, they don't go, "I'm going to buy at $1.03,"
Exactly.
or "I'm going to, sell at 97 cents." They go $1, and then that's where you get these price levels that you're talking about.
But I think, and this is probably going to be the same on most of the other crypto charts that I've been looking at. It's kind of this similar pattern, and if they hold up, I think we're going to go on another run. Personally, I mean, I could be
Yeah,
wrong, but
no, I agree, and I expect another run. I having been in the 2017 crypto bull market, there's 9 out of 10 times you want to be bullish when there's a pullback because the market will go higher and it will surprise you sometimes. Just look at Bitcoin in 2016 to 2017. It went from $1,000, even less than 2016, to $20,000. And there was about 7 or 8 30% pullbacks. And if you became bearish on any of those, you would have missed out on more of the gains.
hmm
So it actually pays to be bullish 9 out of 10 times, and then there's that one time you're bullish when actually you're wrong, and we enter that bear market for Bitcoin. And I think it's the same sort of principle with altcoins. 9 out of 10 times a pullback's going to continue to the upside. The trick is to take profits, so that way when you are wrong that one time out of 10, you've already cashed out most of your position.
exactly.